Evening everyone. I welcome you all to Ganesh IAS Academy. In today's session, we'll be seeing environment-based current affairs from the date March 8th to March 18th, 2023. Let us get into the news articles one by one. The first news that we are going to discuss is genetic rescue and inbreeding. So what is this genetic rescue and inbreeding? What is it related to? And why is it in the news? All these details we must have to understand in detail. So let us get into the understanding of it. So a recent study has suggested genetic rescue as a strategy to preserve the tiger population in Ranthambore National Park. So here we need to understand what is genetic rescue and how is it causing a problem and why is it a strategy to preserve tiger population, and we must also have to understand the details of the Ranthambore National Park from exam point of view. So here the issue is that the tiger population in Ranthambore is facing the issue of genetic isolation and inbreeding due to fragmentation and habitat loss. So genetic isolation is happening and inbreeding is happening. So we have to understand the details of what inbreeding is and what is this genetic rescue. So genetic rescue involves introducing individuals from a different population. Why? To increase the genetic diversity. This is very important. Okay, a statement based on this can be asked that genetic rescue is related to what? It is related to increasing the genetic diversity here. Okay, so it increases the genetic diversity and offset inbreeding in small and isolated population. So inbreeding is to be offsetted here. Okay, so what is inbreeding? That we need to understand in greater detail. So this genetic rescue, how does it work? What are all the steps that are involved in the genetic rescue? The first step is de-extinction, that we must have to avoid extinction. Okay, extinction of the animals, the species. Next is assisted reproduction. This will also help in increasing the genetic diversity. Moreover, engineering resistance and restoring diversity are other steps, and we are also going to employ reintroduction and recovery programs for increasing the genetic diversity, and this entire process is going to be called as genetic rescue. So when there is inbreeding, there will be a problem. Okay, so for that we need to understand the details of inbreeding. So what is inbreeding? Mating between close relatives within a population is called as inbreeding. So in animals, there must be breeding from different populations. Okay, so if there is mating between close relatives within a population, then that is called as inbreeding. So inbreeding will cause many problems here. So this can lead to increase in homozygosity. So what is homozygosity? That is individuals inheriting two identical forms of particular gene, one from each parent. So this is the best example here. Two identical form of the same gene is obtained from each parent, one from each parent. So individuals that inherit two identical forms of a particular gene, one from each parent. So if it is going to be AA, then it is going to be homozygosm. Okay, so it is called as homozygous organism, and similarly small a and small a is homozygo organisms. Okay, homozygous organism. So if it is going to be a, small a and capital A, then that is heterozygous organisms. Heterozygous organisms are healthy organisms here. So here inbreeding can lead to genetic disorders and reduced fitness, thus posing a threat to population's long-term viability. So the long-term viability of the population is under threat when inbreeding happens. So this is the reason why we are going for genetic rescue, to avoid inbreeding. That is, we introducing species from different population into another population for breeding purposes. So a healthy species from one population will be introduced into another population for breeding. This process is called as genetic rescue, and that is there to avoid this inbreeding. Okay, I hope this is clear. What else do we have to understand? We need to know that genetic rescue aims to improve the population's health and viability by introducing new genes and reducing the risk of extinction due to inbreeding depression. So there is another concept called as inbreeding depression. What does it mean? It means, when does it occur? This inbreeding depression occurs when the offspring resulting from the mating between the two closely related individuals exhibit reduced fitness or health compared to the population average. So there will be a population average for health and for fitness, but if the population average itself is not met, then that is called as inbreeding depression. So it occurs when offspring resulting from mating between closely related individuals, this is inbreeding, and when the offsprings are going to have reduced fitness and health when compared to the population average, that is called as inbreeding depression. Okay, so this can include traits such as decreased fertility, lower survival rates, and increased susceptibility to diseases. So these are all the problems that are occurring due to inbreeding depression. Okay, so if we have to understand this through a picture, then it would be very helpful for us. So this is outbreeding, that is, here capital A is the dominant allele and small a is the recessive deleterious allele. Allele here means a variant of the same gene that is located at the same location in the chromosome. Okay, a variant, different variants of the same gene is called as allele. Okay, so A is the dominant allele and small a is the recessive deleterious allele here. So if there is inbreeding, then it will lead to formation of this small a allele. Okay, so this animal will be having low fertility rate and then its viability is less. Okay, but here when we go for outbreeding, then it is not affected much. So this is what we need to understand. This concept is called as inbreeding depression. This is the depression that is caused. Okay, next is we have to understand, or we must have to know the details of the Ranthambore National Park, because genetic rescue as a strategy was suggested for improving or for preserving tiger population in Ranthambore National Park. So let us understand some details about Ranthambore National Park, because whenever we study about a particular thing, we must have to try to link it with other things as much as possible. Okay, so this is how the questions are interrelated. So it is located in Rajasthan's Savai Madhopur district. So it is located in Rajasthan, one important fact. Next is, it began as Savai Madhopur Game Sanctuary in the year 1955, and then in the year 1973 it was under Project Tiger Reserve, and then in the year 1980 it was given the status National Park. Okay, all these details are important, and it is situated at the intersection of Aravalli and Vindhya Hills. So it is located at the intersection of Vindhya Hills and Aravalli Hills, and it is bounded by Banas River to the north and Chambal River to the south. Okay, so all these geographical features are also important when we study a national park or any other protected area. Moreover, the park's vegetation is predominantly mixed deciduous kind of trees. So it has mixed deciduous kind of trees, and there are two other wildlife sanctuaries which are touching this Ranthambore National Park, okay, through a narrow corridor. What are they? One is Kaila Devi Wildlife Sanctuary, and then the other is Savai Mansingh Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay, so these are the two wildlife sanctuaries which are linked to Ranthambore's core area by a narrow corridor, thus forming a part of the tiger reserve. Okay, so if we understand this through a map, then it will be very useful. So Rajasthan, in Rajasthan's northeast corner it is located. Which one? The Ranthambore National Park is located. So if you see, this is Ranthambore National Park. Okay, this area, this green patch here given is the Ranthambore National Park's core area, and this is Savai Mansingh Sanctuary, and this is Kaila Devi National Park. Both of these national park and sanctuary is linked to the Ranthambore National Park through a narrow corridor. Moreover, we also saw about Banas River forming the northern border and Chambal River forming the southern border of Ranthambore National Park. So this is how you must have to understand clearly. Okay, I hope this is clear. So here we discussed about genetic rescue, inbreeding depression, and then all this genetic rescue as a strategy is given to preserve tiger population in Ranthambore Tiger Reserve or Ranthambore National Park. That is the reason why we discussed about the national parks detail also. Okay. The topic that we are going to discuss now is Captive Elephant Rules 2024. So what are these rules? Why have they introduced these rules now? Let us understand the details of it. Government has introduced Captive Elephant Transfer or Transport Rules 2024, which ease restrictions on transferring elephants within or between states. Okay, so what are these rules for? It is to ease restriction on transferring elephants within state or between states. Okay, so here we need to understand what captive elephants are. These elephants are actually tamed elephants and not domesticated elephants, because they are wild animal, right? So it is not domesticated, but it is a tamed animal, the captive elephants, and they are controlled by humans, and they are used for many purposes like educational purpose, entertainment purpose, and for other work related purposes. They are employed for work, and then they are also seen in zoological parks, sanctuaries, circus, and elephant camps. Okay, so these are all the places where you can see captive elephants. So these are captive elephants, and these rules are with respect to transfer and transport of captive elephants. Okay, I hope this is clear. So if you see this picture, this is how the captive elephants are held at different places, in circus, in elephant camp. This is a picture from Teppakadu camp in Tamil Nadu, and then this is a picture of an elephant in another camp. Okay, so these are the captive elephants that we are talking about. So now let us understand the details of the rules, the captive elephant rules. The aim of these rules is to liberalize the conditions under which the elephants may be transferred within or between states. So they are going to liberalize the conditions here. So there are certain circumstances under which the captive elephants can be transferred. It has been given under these rules. So what are all the circumstances under which the captive elephants can be transferred? First one is when the current owner of the elephant is unable to adequately care for the elephant, then it can be transferred. Next is when it is deemed that the elephant will receive better care anywhere else, elsewhere. Okay, then it can be transferred. Next is when the state's chief wildlife warden determines it's necessary for elephants' well-being. Okay, so in these three circumstances, the elephants, the captive elephants, can be transferred. This is what is given in the rules. What else is discussed in the rules? That there are certain conditions, okay, which has to be taken care of. So transfer within state. So before transferring an elephant within state, intra-state, then a veterinarian must certify the elephant's health. This has to be done before transferring from one place to another. Next is Deputy Conservator of Forest must confirm the suitability of the current and the prospective habitats. That is also there. The habitat has to be confirmed. The suitability of the habitat has to be confirmed. Next is Chief Wildlife Warden has the authority to approve or reject the transfer based on these two assessments. Okay, based on the certificate given by the veterinarian, and then based on the confirmation certificate that is given transfer. Even for interstate transfer, all these three conditions apply. So similar conditions apply, and there is yet another condition, that is the elephant's genetic profile must be registered with the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change before the transfer is initiated, and this is applicable for interstate transfer. Okay, I hope this is clear. This is intrastate and this is interstate transfer. What else is discussed under these rules? The rule has given some transportation guidelines for these captive elephants. First is when an elephant is taken from one place to another, then it has to be accompanied by some personnel. Who are they? That the elephants being transported must be accompanied by a mahout and an elephant assistant. Why? To ensure their welfare during the journey. Okay, so a mahout must be there, the one who controls the elephant, and then an elephant assistant must also be there, and an health certification is also necessary. So a health certificate from a veterinary practitioner is necessary to confirm the elephant's fitness for the transport, and absence of must or any other infectious disease. All these are to be ensured. Okay, all these certification will be given by the veterinary practitioner. Next is quarantine protocols are also to be undertaken. So, in cases of contagious diseases, the transfer can only proceed after completing a mandatory quarantine period recommended by the veterinary practitioner. So, quarantine, like if it is going to have any contagious disease, then it must not be transferred from one place to another. Rather, it should be put under quarantine. Okay. Next is, what other guidelines do we have? Preloading care. What is preloading care? That is, when we take an elephant from one place to another, before starting off the journey, it has to be fed. Okay, so the elephants must be adequately fed and provided with water before loading on to transport vehicles to ensure their well-being. So next is en route provisions. This is also there. If the journey is going to take too long, okay, then this is a condition that says provision for water and food must be ensured throughout the journey to meet the elephant's nutritional and hydration needs. Okay, elephants consume a lot of food and then a lot of water also. Okay, next is tranquilization protocol is also to be practiced if at all necessary. Okay, so tranquilizers and sedatives may be administered by the veterinary practitioner if the elephant exhibit either nervous or temperamental behavior, ensuring their safe transportation. So this is also there. Okay, so these are all the guidelines that has been given by the rules. Okay, transportation guidelines. And then we must have to note that until August 2022, the Wildlife Protection Act explicitly prohibited the trade in wildlife, including both wild and captive elephants. Okay, the trade in wild elephants and captive elephants was prohibited, explicitly prohibited. But an amendment was made to this 1972 Act in the year 2022, and it brought an exemption that for the first time allowed captive elephants to be moved from one place to another. It can be transferred and transported from one place to another. This was allowed for the first time according to the amendment of 2022. But a parliamentary committee had recommended the deletion of this exemption clause for elephants, but it did not happen. However, the final version of the Amendment Act retained this clause. Okay, so this background we must have to understand. So since this clause is retained, rules have been introduced now. Okay, and they have also introduced transportation guidelines. Okay, so you must have to understand the background of why these rules are introduced now. So that background is shown in this slide. Okay, I hope this is clear. The topic that we are going to discuss now is Bugun Liocichla. What is this Bugun Liocichla? It is a bird species. Why is this bird species in news? The Buguns are actually a major tribe who are living near Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary in Arunachal Pradesh. And why are they in news? That is because they have made a generous donation of 1,470 hectares of land to conserve the Bugun Liocichla bird. So this is that Bugun Liocichla bird, and this tribal people, Buguns, have contributed this, have donated so much of land, that is 1,470 hectares of land was donated for the conservation and protection of this bird species, Liocichla. Okay, so here we need to understand the details of this species and then also about the Bugun tribes here. Okay, so this species was discovered in 2006 and it faces threat because of deforestation and hunting. Okay, so that is the problem here. And talking about this species, this Bugun Liocichla is a small critically endangered babbler with olive gray plumage. So it has olive gray plumage and then a black cap and then yellow orange eyebrow. Its eyebrow is yellow orange in color. Okay, so this is how they identify and distinguish this bird from other birds. Okay, and it was discovered in the year 2006 and it has become an attraction for the bird watchers since it was discovered as a new bird species in 2006, and it is found only in Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary landscape and nowhere else in the world. Very important point to be noted. Such extreme statements can also be asked. Generally, what we consider is extreme statements are not correct. In UPSC, if there is an extreme statements like only and other things, then we tend to avoid that statement and we consider those statements as wrong statement, but at times such statements may also be right. So here it is found only in Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary landscape and nowhere else in the world. Yes, that is a correct statement. Okay, and then the avian species, this bird species is critically endangered with only 14 individual birds spotted so far, where in Braidua village, and this village falls under the subdivision of Singchuk. Okay, and a major step towards the conservation of this species was taken by the Arunachal Pradesh government, which finally notified this Braidua Community Reserve under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, and then the reserve is situated adjacent to the Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay, so this is what we need to know. Moreover, we need to understand the details of the Bugun tribe. Okay, so here the Buguns actually migrated from Tibet, so they are actually native to Tibet. So they migrated from Tibet through East Kameng district of Arunachal Pradesh, East Kameng area of Arunachal Pradesh. And talking about the livelihood and habitat of this tribe, their daily lives are deeply connected to their environment. Okay, so they are very closely related to the environment. Their activities are related to their ambience. And then similar to other Mongoloid, that is Indo-Mongoloid tribes in Arunachal Pradesh, these Buguns also construct their homes using bamboo. This is one important factor to be considered. Okay, one important fact to be noted. And then Buguns are also known for their hard work in farming. So they are good at farming, and they also have the skill of extracting oil from a hood species called as cheeblem. It is a hood species which is found in forest, and they are skilled in extracting oil from this hood species. Okay, so these are the Bugun tribes here. And talking about their lifestyle, how is their lifestyle designed? So they have a separate borders with other neighboring tribes, and they speak a distinct language known as Kowa. So Kowa language, this can be asked as a question. And then they have their own decision making body called as Nimyang. Okay, and this Nimyang body oversees the community's affairs. So every other disputes related to the community and other affairs are resolved through this Nimyang body, okay, which is a decision making body. And these Buguns tend to practice endogamy. What is endogamy? That is marrying individuals within their own community is called as endogamy. So they practice endogamy. So this is what we need to know from this news article, that is Bugun Liocichla, the birds conservation. And for the conservation of the birds, 1470 hectares of land was donated to the government by the Bugun tribe. Okay. The topic that we are going to discuss now is golden langur. Why is golden langur in news? That is because according to the estimation by Primate Research Center, Northeast India and Assam Forest Department, there are an estimated 7,396 golden langurs in India. This is the golden langur that we are talking about. So here we need to understand the details of what golden langur is, what is the habitat in which it is located, and then its protection status. All these informations are important from exam point of view. So let us understand those details. Golden langur is a small arboreal primate. So what is arboreal? Those animals which maximum dwell on tree tops is called as arboreal animals. So if you see golden langur, it will never step down. Very occasionally it come to ground. Rest of the time all its needs are fulfilled on the tree tops itself. Okay, so such animals are called as arboreal animals, and they are most easily recognized by the color of their fur, after which they are named. So it has golden colored fur. Okay, And then they are highly dependent on trees. Like we saw, it is arboreal, living in the upper canopy of forest, and they are also known as leaf monkeys, sometimes called as golden leaf monkey. Okay, so golden langur is called as golden leaf monkey here. That is what we need to know. Next is its habitat. Where is it distributed? So it is endemic to western Assam in India and southern Bhutan. Okay, and then their habitat is restricted to the regions which is surrounded by 4 geographical landscapes. What are they? One is foothills of Bhutan in the north, Manas River in the east, Sankosh River in west, and Brahmaputra River in the south. So these are all the geographical landmarks inside which it is bounded. Okay, and then talking about the protection status of golden langur, it is endangered under IUCN category. Okay, under IUCN red list, it is categorized as endangered, and it is placed in appendix 1 of CITES convention. What is CITES convention? Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna. Okay, and then it is placed in schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. That is because it is endangered here. Okay, endangered or critically endangered animals are given highest protection status. Okay, that is schedule 1 according to Wildlife Protection Act. Okay, I hope this is clear. The topic that we are going to discuss now is World Air Quality Report 2023. So what is this report about, and what is the position or the status of India according to this report? Okay, let us understand the details of the report. India has been identified as world's 3rd most polluted country as per World Air Quality Report 2023, which was released by Swiss organization IQ Air. IQ Air is the organization which has released this information, this study. And India has an average annual PM 2.5 concentration of 54.4 micrograms per cubic meter, per meter cube. Okay, and then see the World Health Organization's recommendation. So the recommended level is just 5 micrograms per meter cube, but then see India's average, it is 54.4 micrograms. It is more than 10 times. Okay, so that is a problematic thing. And then Bangladesh and Pakistan are the first 2 countries. Here we saw that India is the 3rd most polluted country, and Bangladesh and Pakistan are the first 2 countries, most polluted countries. And 9 out of the top 10 most polluted cities in the world are from India. This is a worrying fact for us. Okay, so 9 out of 10 most polluted cities are in India according to this report by IQ Air. And India's air quality has actually deteriorated when compared to the previous year, with Delhi emerging as the world's most polluted capital city for 4th consecutive time. So for 4th consecutive time, for 4 years continuously, Delhi emerged as the world's most polluted capital city. Okay, and then Begusarai in Bihar is labeled as the world's most polluted metropolitan area with an average PM 2.5 concentration of 118.9 micrograms per cubic meter. Okay, and then around 136 million Indians, that is approximately 96% of the Indian population, actually faces PM 2.5 concentration, which is higher than the World Health Organization's recommended level, that is 5 micrograms. So World Health Organization's recommended levels is 5 micrograms per meter cube. But then 96% of Indian population faces more than this. Okay, and then see the level in Begusarai, it is 118. See the comparison here, it is more than 23 times. Okay, which is alarming. Next is, we are talking about PM 2.5, but what is PM 2.5? That we need to know. Okay, so it refers to atmospheric particulate matter. So PM here is particulate matter. Okay, those particulate matter with a diameter of less than 2.5 micrometer is called as PM 2.5. Okay, so when they have diameter less than 2.5 micrometer, then it is called as PM 2.5. And see here, about 3% of the width of the human hair. So it is very small. When we take a human hair, the 3% of the width of the human hair is the size of 2.5 meter and less. Okay, so these particles can penetrate deep into lungs and bloodstream, thus leading to serious health issues like lung cancer, heart disease, and stroke with prolonged exposure to these particulate matter. And then PM 2.5 pollution is primarily caused by burning fossil fuels. So we must also know what is the source of this pollution. It is burning fossil fuels. So if you see, in general, coarse particulate matter are from 2.5 to 10 micrometer. Okay, what is PM10? Anything less than 10 micrometer is called as PM10, and anything less than 2.5 micrometer is called as PM2.5. Okay, so PM2.5 is more dangerous when compared to PM10. This is what we need to know. Next is world's most polluted countries. The list we need to know. So we already saw that the first place is Bangladesh. Okay, next is Pakistan in the second place. India is in the third place. The other countries here are Tajikistan, Burkina Faso, Iraq, United Arab Emirates, Nepal, Egypt, and Democratic Republic of Congo. So these are all the countries, the top 10 most polluted countries. Okay, next we are going to see the most polluted cities of the world. Okay, so most polluted cities, and of the top 10 cities which are most polluted, 9 are there in India. Okay, so we already saw that Begusarai in Bihar is the most polluted city, and then the other cities are Guwahati, Delhi, Mulanpur, Lahore, New Delhi, Siwan, Saharsa, Gozengaon, and Katihar. Okay, so of this, except Lahore, all the other cities are located in India, which is a worrying fact for us. Okay, so this is what we need to know about the world air quality report of 2023. So with this, we have come to end of today's session. I hope you found the session to be very useful and informative. Let us see in the next session.